We are back on Fresh Waves for hour number 2. I'm your host, Bren Masson. Joining us in the studio, we have the one and only, the former Citizen of the Year, who is still, in my books, the Citizen of the Year, Mr. Ivan Harris. And now joining us is the one and only Laura Cusack. Why do I always keep saying Crookshank? I don't know. I know another Laura Crookshank. Anyway, and you're from the Hummingbird Hub.
Yes.
And every time I say, yeah, you know, Laura from the Hummingbird Hub, and people say, what the heck is the Hummingbird Hub? Is that downtown, like the Hummingbird Theater? No. It's a little place in Stouffville. It's brand new, and people are talking about it, which is a good thing. So, hi, Laura. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks.
You seem a little rushed and crazy with the holiday season, like everybody else in this world.
That's the season.
'Tis the season to be jolly, sort of. I think it's the season to be jolly, because if you weren't jolly, you'd be so miserable, it would be awful.
It's a pretty tough time of year.
Yeah, you gotta be happy. So, tell us a little bit about this Hummingbird Hub, because lots of people don't know what it is.
The Hub is a nonprofit. It's a nonprofit. We're a incorporated nonprofit organization that is designed to be a small community center. There's no affiliations with any organization in the town. It's all grassroots. I have a very competent, very talented group of people helping me out with running it and putting the ideas together for it. But essentially what it is, it's a safe, inclusive place for anybody in the community to pursue any kind of interest or initiative or small business or anything that helps to enhance what they would like to do within the community.
That sounds fabulous.
Yeah, so it's everything from pop-up markets for small crafters and artisans that need a place to sell their wares to organizations that would like to run some sort of a social program. We've got some mental health support programs being run, but we've also got arts and cultural type events, comedy nights and open mics and open mic reading programs and different types of yoga classes, a whole spectrum of different types of things. It's just whatever people in the community would like to see in the community. We make it happen.
So there's a million yoga classes in the town of Stouffville. Why more yoga?
The yoga are specialty. They're one of a kind. Tonight's, for example, is for men who've never done yoga, and included in the price of the yoga ticket is a beverage across the street at Tipsy Cow afterwards. So it's called
interesting.
Yoga and Beer for men who don't do yoga. So we're trying to find things that don't exist in the town and try to build on it. We'd like to do some...
So who's teaching men yoga?
Adrian from Into Yoga. She's new to town. She doesn't belong with any yoga studio anywhere. She originally is from Stouffville, but moved out of town years ago, and she's now back. She received her training out in Langley, BC, and did a lot of work with hospices and prisons and different types of environments, and now is back in Stouffville and looking to do something different. So it fits in perfectly with the mandate for Hummingbird Hub.
So I hope both men that show up enjoy themselves.
Actually, you know what? It looks like it's going to be full. It looks like we have at least 8 pre-registered for it. And
that's
our
terrific.
Capacity is about 10. So
that's terrific. And you know, I actually know a male yoga teacher.
Do you really?
I do. He teaches a lot in Barrie and Beaton and that kind of area up there. But it's unusual to see North American, sort of Canadian male yoga teachers, but in India it's very popular. It's very common. Many of the teachers are male, and many people who do yoga are male. So it's a great form of exercise, and it's really good for your mental health too.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, well that sounds like a lot of fun. Love to be a fly on the wall in that class. I know that's not going to happen. Anyway, so you do some programs like the open mic that I've heard is really popular. Like that's really taking off.
It is, and it's a lot of fun. It's the open mic, the music open mic on every Sunday afternoon.
What time does it start?
2. It runs from 2 to 6. And it's for people who'd like to just come for the love of music. They're people that have day jobs. They have other things. Music isn't their way of making a living. They just love music. So they come and they can play, and it's very interactive. People can get up and somebody will will start playing on the guitar. Somebody else recognizes the song, will get up and sing. Somebody else the harmonica will pop up in the background in the back row somewhere. Somebody else has a shaker going or a tambourine, and then somebody starts to dance. And it's like a house party, but it's with live music. So it's just
fun.
People for the love of music.
Yeah, that sounds like a great time. That's the definition of community music, isn't it?
It is. There's really no agendas. There's no, nobody's profiting from it. Mm. It's just people coming out. It's by donation. If you want to play, just put a donation in the donation box.
Now, a lot of open mics take place at bars where beer is a big component, so that's not at your place, though.
It's not. So, some of the people coming have brought their kids. Some of the kids that are experimenting with, they want a small, safe environment to practice in front of an audience. Mm-hmm. There's been a few musicians who, they play in their basement at home and sing in the shower, but have never performed in front of an audience.
Do you sing in the shower, Ivan?
I'm not saying anything.
You're not saying anything?
No. Okay. I think you'd be surprised how many people sing in the shower. And some are quite good. Yeah. So you put them up. If somebody is willing to get on the keyboard or a guitar and let them sing, it's kind of like a live version of karaoke. Mm-hmm. So it adds a whole different dimension to it. Yeah. Which makes it very fun.
I'm an expressive arts practitioner, so I could give you all the science behind why that is just so good for you. So if anyone out there wants to kind of let loose and try out that side of their creative expression, music is wonderful.
Yeah. The other open mic we have is reading. And we're setting up a reading program where once a month we'll get together with local authors and let them do a reading from their works.
Nice.
And it can be either something they're proud of that they would like to share, or something that they're working on that they'd like to get feedback on. So we'll try to bring in some local authors and writers and give them a group that's a safe environment for them to be able to practice their, in some cases it's hobby, some cases it's profession. Right. We've got some published authors in town.
Nice.
And some real talent. So it's nice to be able to showcase some of that.
Absolutely.
I know a chap who's looking for a spot to try out his bagpipes. I think that'd be different, eh?
I may need to warn the neighbors.
Oh, yeah. We had a guy at the cottage who decided to learn to play the bagpipes. And every evening, I guess he figured that, bagpipes are the sundown kind of instrument. When he was learning, it was honestly as if he was killing a flock of geese. It was the most awful, ear-piercing sound. And at the lake, it bounces off the water so you can hear it all over. And it took him about 5 years before we finally recognized the song. Oh, no. And of course, both songs that you play on the bagpipes are nice songs once you get to know how to play them. And now it's something that people look forward to every evening. And you will see them bringing their coffee or their tea and whatever beverage they happen to be participating in at sundown. They go down to the dock and they sit on the docks and they listen to him play the bagpipes. And it is
the same neighbors that have been there through all the squeaking and squawking.
Because they're finally it's something wonderful to listen to. And even at the campsite that's on the lake, they tell people, bagpipes at the such and such a time, don't miss it. And they go and sit on the public beach there and they're all listening to him play the bagpipes. He's wonderful. He's really good. But we all put up with it. It's kind of like having a child. Like when Sarah came home with the saxophone, it's like, oh my God, she's got a saxophone. Can you play it in the garage, honey? And no offense.
Yeah, my son just picked up the saxophone. He's learning because he wants to be able to
instrument.
Play. Yeah.
It's a loud instrument when it's squawking, when it first comes into your home. After a while, it's wonderful, but at the beginning, Anyway, agreed. We have to take a little break and pay some bills here. When we come back, we'll be talking about community and Christmas and holidays and all that kind of fun stuff. You're listening to Fresh Waves. We'll be back right after this. Stay tuned.
Hey everyone, this is Lil J. Join me every Saturday night at 11 p.m. Eastern for the Block Party. A 2-hour journey of the best in the Canadian underground dance music scene, featuring tracks and DJ mixes from Canada's emerging artists, from the disco hits of the 70s to the latest dance floor fillers. No lineups or cover charges, it's your weekly free access to the beats that are packing dance floors in Canada and around the world. The Block Party, Saturday nights at 11 p.m. Eastern, right here on 102.9 Whistle FM and online at whistleradio.ca.
Hi folks, Kim Mitchell here. You know, however you choose to get around, your ATV, your snowmobile, your boat, car, if you have a motorcycle, all these things take 100% of your attention and skill to operate safely. Alcohol impairs that, and bad things can happen. So, be smart, okay? You know what I'm going to say next.
This message brought to you from the Safe and Sober Awareness Committee.
We are back on Fresh Waves. We have Laura from the Hummingbird Hub and Ivan from Ivan Harris Incorporated in the station. And Ivan, you have your 50-year pin with the Lions Club.
That's true.
That's true. I know that for a fact, because you would never tell us that if I didn't already know it as a fact. So you've been dealing with the community on a philanthropic basis for many, 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 many years. And you used to do one of the Christmas programs there, delivering the food and stuff, didn't you?
The baskets, yes. And the Lions are doing that again this year, and they have collected quite a number of toys. The town has provided a spot to do all the sorting and everything of the toys, and they're in the process of doing that right now. And I would imagine by the end of this week they will start the deliveries. Now they have. It's sort of in different categories. They have about 60 families, I understand, that they're going to look after, and 120 kids. Okay.
Wow.
So that's their goal this year, and they have all that number. And now all the excess toys will go to one or two churches in Markham, which have a sort of like a food bank type thing, where they also have a few shelves of toys that the people can come in. So it all goes to good use. All the things they've collected. There's quite a number of people get involved with that. It's not just a 4 or 5 group, little nucleus of active people.
Right.
We're up into the 22, 24 people that actually need to put that program together. And for some reason, it works well. And in the middle of it all is one of the major fundraisers is the Christmas tree selling. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if you read the paper this morning that a lot of the lots in the Toronto have run out of trees for the first time.
Wow, isn't that interesting?
And
nice
anyway,
problem to have.
and rather surprising, they only have a few more trees to sell. They were selling them last night. I think they're on tonight as well for the rest of this week. Whether there'll be any left by Saturday, I don't know. But and I don't know. The price has changed on trees. Have you priced some of the trees? You know, everything's over $50. You know that,
expensive.
And everything. And to have 600 trees and have them all sold, it's really a good fundraiser.
Right.
But there's a lot of work. They use the Stouffville High School students for community that require community points, and they come and they help us. And I'm not so good at it anymore because you have to move the trees, and the trees, every tree is perfect. It's heavy, but it's perfect.
Yeah, they are heavy.
Yeah, and I remember we used to sell Scotch pine, and there wasn't a straight stem on that tree. It was worse than a Charlie Brown. You know, nothing was straight on it. But this year they're in perfect condition, and every tree is ideal. So some of the other things that have happened, and the Lions got involved with the student music at the St. James Presbyterian Church.
Oh,
their
nice.
program, and they supply a lump of money to allow the church to feel comfortable going ahead and performing that program, which is at the high school usually, but they need a little bit money up front, and the Lions provide all that. The same with the Terry Fox situation. We provide money for the material because Terry Fox cannot use any of the money they collect for their program at all. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it all has to come. It's all found money. So they, and that was the problem. I shouldn't say this, but the police sort of threw a wrench into it because they felt that they should be at the intersections, and then they sent a bill at the end of the year. And there was nowhere, they had no money, and so the town paid the bill for the first 2 years, and then they stopped it. They said, cut out this is not right, something not right. But anyway, because the Lions used to have volunteers from different communities around, staff were at each of the intersections that the runners were going through,
right,
just to make sure the traffic was under control. So
right,
things of that happen. There's another program, and I'm not quite sure about this one. It's Education Arts Canada, and I think it's through the Latcham Gallery. Mm-hmm. Anyway, they support that, and that was $830 that they paid in there to help the program be run, and I think there's supplies and everything else to be bought and items to be hung. So they help out in that way as well as their own projects like Camp Kirk. I don't know if you've ever been up to Camp Kirk. It's very humbling. Okay, it's one of those ones where you just hope that your kids never get in that situation where they need that much help.
Right.
And it's a one-on-one type thing. So, But for a youngster to swim in a lake, that never had a chance before,
right,
it's really quite nice sort of thing. And of course, I'm still involved with the blood clinics, which is over at the Tomar Church on Sandyford. So the Lions, they have projects all the time. And they're all going, and it's nice just to see the people and get involved with the people. And I think Christmas is one of the things with giving out the baskets. Again, I'm going to use that word again, when it's very humbling delivering the places, because there's places in Stouffville which, you think, oh gosh, that shouldn't be here. Mm-hmm. These people, they're just hanging on by their fingernails, and the baskets just made that little bit of a difference. So, and it's quite good for that. So,
yeah, and then a place like the Hummingbird Hub is a place where someone can go and they don't have to register for a program that costs hundreds of dollars. This is more of a place where they can come and get some support, come and find community without having to pay a lot of money. And I think that's one of the best things that, for me, looking at the Hummingbird Hub, that I see going forward, is the fact that a lot of the programs and a lot of these things cost money. And we don't, sometimes when you come on and you tell me about these things, Ivan, I'm shocked at what the Lions Club does that people really don't know about. It happens behind the scenes. It happens very respectfully. People get a basket delivered at Christmas time with toys and gifts, and it's very suited to each household and what the house needs or the person needs. And then when I hear about the Hummingbird Hub, and I think, wow, it's a place where you don't have to have anything. You can have nothing. You can be that person hanging on by your fingernails. Mm-hmm. And now you have a place to come to. Now you have a place to call your community center. It's almost a pure definition of community centers before
we've been
towns and politics
actually been
got
lacking
involved.
That sort of a thing, because 19 Park have sort of priced themselves.
They're out of the planet now.
Yeah, they really have. And
we used to be able to do fundraisers there for the radio station for a nominal fee.
That's right. Yeah.
And now we can't touch it. We can't go anywhere near it. So they've taken themselves off the map to the average person. Even fundraisers that have been running at 19 on the Park for years can't afford to be there anymore. And I think that's a sad, sad thing, and something that the town of Witchert-Stouffville really needs to address.
Yes,
they need to go back to a system where not-for-profits and charities can...
But if Laura's going to fill that gap, then the town won't have...
Yeah, but you don't have the seating capacity at the Hummingbird Hub that you do at 19 on the Park.
No, we can only accommodate up to about 40 people is our capacity.
Can you get that many in?
Yeah, we can.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Get up to about 40.
Super.
Slightly less depending on... Everything in there is rearrangeable, so we've got tables and chairs and couches and things, but they can all get cleared out, and we can do theater seating. Like last Saturday we did a comedy show, the Earl of Comedy, and so he had seating for capacity for 40 people, and it went very well. So we'll probably keep doing that and letting him have a forum.
Planned in the future to be maybe a quarterly thing or a monthly thing, or
hopefully monthly. We'll see. It depends on how much response we get from the community, but it's nice to be able to have a place that's not only affordable, but there's no judgment, there's no strings attached. People can come in and they can get support for maybe if they have a family member that's going through mental health issues and they just need support, need a safe place to come to. Maybe they're hitting hard times and just need a place to start from, and need a direction. Just where do I start? What do I do? Because bad things happen to good people, it transcends gender and socioeconomic status and culture and everything.
It also transcends just the Christmas season. It seems like at Christmas time or at holiday time, so I don't get whacked by anybody in town, at this holiday time, solstice time, that everybody's doing good things. Everybody's doing philanthropic things. People are opening doors more for other people. There's smiles on people's faces. They're gifting each other with food and nice things. It would be really nice if it just continued throughout the entire year, that feeling of benevolence, that feeling of philanthropy. That
it does drop off.
It does drop off, and January and February can often be really bleak times for food banks and things like that. I know in small towns, by February, their food banks are empty. There's nothing left.
Well, a lot of it is, I think, just the perception of it drops off. It isn't, like you were talking about the Lions Club doing, there's a lot of things coming through. There's a lot of very talented organizations and people in this community that are continuing to do a lot of things, but it kind of gets hidden, it gets forgotten, it gets missed, it's lost in the shuffle. So if there's a way to try and keep highlighting a lot of the good that's happening and connecting some of the organizations, because we have, the Lions does a lot of good work, but there's other organizations that do similar types of things and target the same demographic for helping them, because there is a demographic there that needs help. So if there's a way to coordinate across some of these groups so that people that are falling in the cracks, that don't have that ability to stick their hand in the air and say, me too, I need help.
And some people don't do it because they're proud, right? They just don't. Sometimes they don't want to admit it.
Pride. Sometimes there's issues there where speaking out causes a panic attack or an anxiety attack, and they'd rather just stay at home, locked away behind closed curtains, and deal with it in silence because they consider it to be their problem, not realizing that there's a lot of other people out there dealing with the same issues. So if we can try and coordinate and try to pull some of these people together and give them a support network place, and a lot of the times the places that typically have addressed that are churches. But there's a percentage of people that are just uncomfortable going into a church. So maybe if we have a place that there's no judgment, there's no reason why there's any stigma attached to going in there, they can go in and they can find other people like themselves who are dealing with whatever the issue is.
I like the word hub that's included in your Hummingbird title, because hub gives you the sense of a nucleus, and then things come from the hub. So it springs outward. So if you saw someone, or through people that have come into the hub, realize that a family could use one of the baskets, now you're the hub that would call the Lions Club perhaps and say, hey,
reach out and connect.
Can you guys do something for this particular organization?
Whether it's the Lions Club or Restore, who does distress counseling, or Roots, who's trying to connect people who need rides, to try and get a network of all of these organizations. So if somebody walks in and says, I have a concern, I have a problem, whatever it is. Or
I know someone who, which also sometimes, like you were talking about, the depressed can be so dark and in such a place where they can't even get to the Hummingbird Hub. But perhaps if a neighbor notices that, I haven't seen them in a week or so, can you go over and give them a check and just see? That kind of thing. It's forming community, building community, and I think, like you said, this is really grassroots, and the Lions Clubs have always been at the grassroots level, really, really helping out. They don't make a big stink about stuff. They just do stuff, and it's wonderful what they do.
Can I ask a question, and you can tell me whether I'm out of line? What you're doing to me is wonderful, because I used to do oral communication for the Lions Club, and the schools dropped it from being a compulsory to an elective, and so people, they don't do public speaking as much as they used to, and it bothers me. And here's an application where people can get up on your little stage and do their thing, and I just wondered, now, do you need a sponsorship? How can you operate? Do you have somebody then you're holding your elbow at the moment, or am I allowed to ask that?
You are, and we're going to talk about that right after our next little break, because that's going to take us a few minutes to answer, and the clock is saying that I have to take a break here to pay some bills at the station. We'll be right back. You're listening to Fresh Waves. I'm your host, Bren Masson. We'll be back right after this. Stay tuned.